There's 2 incidents that you're speaking of with urine in the pants?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So his pants were soiled when you walked up to the car the first time?
Correct. However, I did not realize that his pants were soiled until I had him exit the vehicle.
Okay. So an initial approach, you didn't have that as one of your indicators of known factors. You found that out a little later?
Yes, sir.
Get ready for this motion to suppress. It's a Fourth Amendment issue with a piss-your-pants drunk veteran. Good stuff. Doesn't get better than that. Keep an eye out for that Fourth Amendment issue. At what point does the police detention take effect? My argument is that she didn't have probable cause to pull him over or reasonable suspicion to pull him over at the time she activated the lights. The judge didn't agree with me, but I'd like to talk about that in the comments. Maybe I'll make another video about that.
And this is Mr. Lauder's cross-examination. Please proceed.
Good morning, officer. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good.
You said you received training in DUI. What type of training did you receive at the academy?
It was I do not recall if it was an actual full block that we did of training. It was quite a few years ago, but it's something that I recall that the instructors came in and went through the exercises, and we went over the different signs to pay attention to while vehicles were driving down the roadway. We got into groups to learn how to do the field sobriety exercises.
Sure, and as part of that training, did you ever learn that being overweight has a bearing on DUI impairment, DUI investigations?
I don't know if it was necessarily in the academy that I learned that, but I understand that health issues and things like that can often have some kind of bearing while they're completing the exercises.
Do you recall whether 50 pounds is a number that is mentioned in the academy?
No, sir, I do not recall.
You don't recall one way or another, correct?
Correct, I don't recall one way or the other.
What training have you received with regards to dilated pupils?
I haven't received any specific training on that, but like I said, while working in a restaurant and stuff like that, that was one of the things that we spoke of, that's one of the standard things that your pupils usually get dilated when you're drinking.
So I just want to be clear here today. It's your testimony that when someone consumes alcohol, it's your training experience that their pupils are dilated?
Generally, yes.
And your citation for that training is the bartending days, or is that law enforcement related?
It was something that I was initially told and taught while I was bartending. However, and then through my training experience with the police department, that's one of the signs that we're told to look for when we're conducting traffic stops and speaking with people for a DUI investigation.
And have you ever received training from your sergeant?
I have. And
has he ever told you that dilated pupils would be an indicator of alcohol consumption?
Yes, sir.
In the police academy, did you also receive training in report writing?
Yes, sir.
And you're taught to write detailed reports?
Yes, sir.
Accurate reports?
Yes, sir.
And truthful reports, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there's a saying amongst law enforcement that it's not a report, it didn't happen? Have you ever heard that before?
I mean, I've heard them say that, but I don't think that that's when I'm writing a report or conducting an investigation. I don't.
Have you ever heard that in a law enforcement setting?
Yes, sir.
With regards, I'm going to stay on your training experience just one more moment. With regards to the training you've received and the experience you've had in the bartending, the alcohol industry, let's say, for lack of a better word, people have different responses to alcohol consumption, correct?
Yes, sir.
And before that night or that morning, had you ever had the opportunity to meet Mr. Cruz?
No, sir.
So you don't know what his speech was like on a regular basis besides that night?
No, sir.
Let's go back to that morning in question. You were traveling which direction?
I was traveling eastbound on State Road 414 when I entered the left turn lane at Maitland Concourse because
And you were driving a marked patrol car?
Yes, sir.
Did you have a slick top version, or did you have overhead lights on the top?
I have overhead lights on mine.
And the profile, look in the rearview mirror, did it say, hey, that's a police car? Or is it more like a covert type?
Our patrol cars are black, so I do have people often say that they didn't realize that I was a patrol officer when on the side of the road.
So it goes both ways, though. Some people can recognize
yes,
you.
Sir.
And when you pulled up the light, you pulled up directly behind Mr. Cruz's vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you see him driving at all prior to that?
No, sir.
And the light was red at that point in time, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that light has a red left turn arrow?
Yes.
And then there's 2 travel lanes to the right of that, correct?
Correct, to continue eastbound on State Road 414.
2 primary lanes eastbound,
Or,
2
I
westbound.
apologize, westbound on 414.
2 westbound, 2 eastbound, and there's merge lanes and turn lanes, but for the
Yes,
most
sir.
part, 2 primary lanes. Can you describe that area with regards to the current status or status that night, both actually, with regards to construction?
There is heavy construction. They do have most of the median. They have the concrete jersey barriers lining the median.
Can you please describe? I think I know what a jersey barrier is, but just in case.
I apologize. It's the large concrete wall that would prevent anyone from entering the median.
So that's kind of like the wall you would see going down the expressway that would block 2 lanes of traffic?
Yes, sir.
And in addition to that, were there any construction vehicles out or anything like that working?
No, sir.
What about barrels? Construction barrels?
At the intersection, there are no barrels. However, once he proceeded westbound on State Road 414, they have the Bob's Barricade construction barrels lining the concrete jersey barrier wall.
That construction zone, it's almost as if he was sitting at the edge of it where he was stopped. And if he would have proceeded forward, where he sat, he was not in the construction zone, but if he proceeds forward, he's in the construction zone, correct?
There's construction prior to him and after him.
So he's in the heart of it, maybe a gap in the middle, but he's in the heart of
Yes, sir.
construction.
There's no active construction in the intersection of the roadway. However, it is on the east and west side of the intersection.
Have you had, or in your experience as a patrol officer working that area, have you had people with difficulties and traffic crashes as a result of the construction?
Yes, sir.
And did you have experience in that intersection before there was construction?
In regards to what kind of experience?
I don't know whether you were a police officer or a CSO before that construction. I don't know how long that project's been going on for. I know it's been a while. I just don't know how long.
Yes, I was a patrol officer prior to the construction starting in that area, yes.
Okay, and that construction's kind of marred things up for the police department, responses, and just traffic in general, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you're sitting at both vehicles are sitting at the red light, left turn lane. How long are you sitting there for the light turn green?
Maybe approximately, I'm not sure, 30 seconds maybe.
So you're sitting.
He was already stopped at the traffic light prior to me pulling it behind him.
Certainly. So you stopped there for 30 seconds. He's been there at some period of time before that. You don't know which.
Yes, sir.
And the light is red at that point in time.
Yes,
correct?
sir.
What about this? What about the travel lanes? Were those lights red as well, or were those through lanes green?
When I approached the intersection, all the lights were initially red.
Okay. The light turns green at some point after the 30 seconds of you getting there. And he had done nothing wrong to alert you at that point in time, correct?
Correct.
Parked proper, stopped properly within the lane?
Yes, sir.
Behind the stop bar?
Yes, sir.
Nothing unusual at all with regards at that point in time?
Correct.
The light turns green and you hit your horn, correct?
Yes, sir.
Which horn did you hit?
The one on my steering wheel.
And does that activate your air horn or does that activate your vehicle horn?
It acts as a regular vehicle horn unless my lights are activated, in which they were not.
Okay, so at that point in time, you hit your standard horn.
Yes, sir.
For what purpose?
Generally, in law enforcement, we realize that a lot of people get distracted by things inside their vehicle, texting and driving, whether their GPS, anything like that. So I honk my horn. I come in contact with that on a regular basis in regards to people not proceeding immediately because they're doing other things inside their vehicle.
Okay. And that didn't work, and then you hit your lights?
Nope, I waited approximately 1 to 2 seconds, and then I hit my horn again.
Okay.
He still did not proceed to make the left turn or U-turn. So at that time, I hit my siren, thinking that maybe he was very distracted or something like that, or just not paying attention.
And I want to backtrack. So you hit your horn 1 or 2 seconds later. So you hit your horn twice in a matter of a second or two.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then how long after did you hit your siren?
Probably another second or two.
Okay, so horn, siren, 3 seconds, 3 to 4 seconds.
Probably 3 to 5 seconds. 3 to 5 seconds, I would say.
Okay. And at that point in time, did your siren go on, or was that just your lights?
I hit my light bar, and it, like, if we switch it all the way over to number 3, it activates our lights and our sirens at the same time. So I hit it all the way over to 3 and then shut it back off.
Okay, so let's backtrack so the court understands everything. Your light bar setting, it's a switch, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it has a notch, I guess, 0 for no lights.
Correct.
If you move it over one to the right, we'll call it notch 1, probably setting 1 is probably what you want to call it. Setting 1, that would be what lights?
That turns on my rear lights.
So that's your rearward facing lights. So that would maybe draw some attention, but mostly behind you.
Correct.
The next setting would be what? Setting number 2.
Setting number 2 activates all of my lights. My rear and my front lights are then on.
Okay, so you activated your rear lights, you moved over instantly to setting number 2, which activates all of your lights. And does it activate your wig wags as well?
I believe so, yes.
Okay,
yes,
so now all the lights are shining, and then you switch over to setting number 3, and what does that setting do in addition to all the other lights?
It turns on your siren.
Okay, and how long did that take place?
I would say literally half a second. I pushed it all the way over and then pushed it all the way back. So it wasn't a slow movement in regards to rear, then my lights, then the siren.
Okay, so it's just all one continuous...
It was one continuous swipe and then back off.
Okay. And the desired goal of that is to draw the driver's attention?
Yes, sir.
And
to proceed through the
to drive through the intersection?
Correct.
And to drive through the intersection, the first step of that would be to take your foot off the brake.
Yes,
and
sir.
start to either roll or accelerate forward. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So at that point in time, you have what you would constitute normal behavior.
Yes, sir.
All right. You've just activated your lights. The vehicle started to move forward and then pulls off towards the median, correct?
At that specific intersection, the median is pretty much on the west side of the roadway, is pretty much directly in front of that turn lane, because that is an active curving area and up into that intersection. So the west side median is directly in front of that turn lane.
So I'm going to ask to clarify. I don't fully understand.
Sorry.
I'm going to have to clarify the search for that. So the west side of the so he's currently on the east side of the intersection, stop at the light. He starts to roll westward, correct?
Yes.
And you're saying that the other side of that intersection directly in front, because he's in the left turn lane, right?
Correct.
And he is pulling forward to what was the concern you had about the other side of the intersection?
Like I said, the lane that he was in was to either make a left turn or do a U-turn.
Okay.
However, once he proceeded to go forward, it's as if he just took his foot off the brake. He wasn't actually driving or accelerating. He was just rolling straight towards the median on the west side of the intersection.
Okay. And that would be consistent with behavior with someone yielding to a police officer, correct? Pulling into the center, pulling straight out of the way and slowing down? Would that be yielding?
I wouldn't believe that they would enter the middle of an intersection and drive straight towards the other side of the intersection to yield. Certainly I agree that that's not what you would do or maybe what I would do, but people do weird things when they're like police are behind you. You would agree with that? Yes, sir.
So what he did that day, was that outside your range of normal behavior for, not you, for what the motoring public would do?
Well, considering that I wasn't doing a traffic stop or didn't have my lights active at that time that he proceeded through the intersection, yes, I do believe that that was odd behavior.
Okay, but you just hit your lights and just turned them off, though?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What would you expect behavior of that? What would be normal behavior if you hit your lights and flashing? What would you expect to see?
Well, as I stated before, on the same reason of me honking my horn was to get the driver's attention, to realize the light had cycled to green, and to proceed forward.
Has it been your experience as a police officer that when someone knows you're behind you, they kind of get out of your way?
I mean, only if we have our lights and sirens on, but yes, I mean, as a general...
That kind of happens,
people
right?
People generally...
People like have a cop behind them? Is that...
Yes.
Okay. You indicated the vehicle proceeded forward and almost struck barricades. Those barricades you're referring to, is that the Jersey barricades or is that the red barrels that are out?
There's a sign in the median, which is what he swerved. Right prior to entering the median, he swerved to the right and entered the curb lane and then continued westbound on State Road 414. But it was the concrete or the construction barrel that he almost hit with the driver's side of his vehicle.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So he's making a left turn, or the car proceeds to make a left turn?
No, he was in the lane to make the left turn or do a U-turn. However, he proceeded to go forward through the intersection and then jerk to the right to continue westbound. He didn't make the turn or U-turn.
Okay, so he continued straight.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So when the vehicle proceeded straight, was the through lights, were they green?
Yes.
How far was it that he traveled approximately before it almost hit the median on the other side? What's the distance there?
I would say he was swerving within his lane for approximately, I'd say 300 to 500 feet. And when he swerved and almost hit the construction barrel, that's when I conducted the traffic stop.
Okay, I don't think I worded the question clearly. I'm really referring to he takes off from the light before he proceeds straight. So he's going towards the median. Mm-hmm. And you said he almost hit a bare sign. What sign was that?
I don't recall exactly what the sign is, but there's one that was directly inside the median.
When you talk about, sorry, I'm trying to cut you. When you talk about the median, is that a grassy median?
Yes.
And that sign is within the construction zone side, or is that outside the construction zone?
The median, the concrete barriers are on either side of the median. However, besides the sign being there that's blocking you would actually be able to drive into the median. Okay. There's no concrete barriers preventing you from driving into the...
So it's open facing east, besides the sign?
Westbound.
Right, so the opening is facing east, so you could drive into it west?
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Trying to mentally picture all this stuff. I know it's difficult. We got the judge trying to take notes as well.
Hold on, I'm confused again. The lane of travel that you were in, were you facing east or west?
Westbound.
Westbound, okay. Initially you said east, okay. So it was west on 414. You were going to do a U-turn to go east.
Go eastbound, correct.
And then that's what we're talking about now. Okay, so it's always westbound.
Right. Okay. The opening you're referring to is east to allow west going.
Okay.
I think we understand, right?
Yes.
How far, you said the driver's side of the vehicle almost struck the sign. What part of the driver's side? Like front, back?
The front driver's side panel.
So it's a quarter panel area?
Yes, sir.
And what position were you in order to be able to see the distance between that?
I was directly behind him. As he proceeded to roll through the intersection, I then left my location to follow him through the intersection.
Okay. And how far from the sign did he get?
Prior to hitting it?
He did hit it?
No, I'm saying prior to entering the median and him jerking to the right, I would say maybe 20 feet.
Okay, so car length?
Yes, sir.
And a car length away at what speed?
Approximately maybe 5 to 10 miles an hour. Like I said, he was not driving at that time. He was just rolling. Yes, sir.
So after he's rolling forward, comes a car length away from there, jerks to the right, does he accelerate?
At normal speeds, yes.
Okay, so
he starts, once he gets back onto westbound 414, he was driving at a normal speed. He was accelerating towards a normal speed.
Any spinning the tires?
No, sir.
Any inappropriate braking?
No, sir.
You say he jerked. At what point, the jerk is to avoid the sign?
I'm not sure. I wasn't driving the vehicle.
Well, I guess from your perception, was the jerk right before he hit the 20 feet before and then he changed over into the travel lane?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that jerk was maybe abrupt, but it was to get him into proper lane position, correct?
I could assume so. However, I mean, as a law enforcement officer or just a normal driver, I see people that sometimes are in the turn lane and then they realize, oh, this is not where I need to turn, and they want to continue a certain direction. They don't proceed straight forward through an intersection and then make a jerk, a sudden movement to then get back into that. They'll usually activate a turn signal or something like that.
Certainly.
And then they'll gradually move over into that turn lane or into the straight lane.
And that would be what you would consider potentially normal behavior. And we agree we have a wide variety
Correct, but that's normal behavior that I see on everyday driving and while conducting patrol.
Have you ever seen that when you hit your lights behind someone before?
No, sir.
Okay. Did he have any turn signal on?
No, sir.
How long between the stop bar where he was stopped at originally for the light and the final stop location? What's the approximate distance there?
Say probably a little bit over 1,500 feet.
Okay. And during that time, you were following behind him?
Yes, sir.
How close were you behind him during that time frame?
Approximately 2 car lengths.
Is that a safe distance given that circumstance?
Yes, sir.
And you said you observed, I don't recall the number, you said you observed weaving within the lane, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe the traffic conditions that night?
There were no other vehicles passing us at that time.
Okay, so the weaving within the lane had no bearing on any other traffic?
Correct.
And how long after he got into the travel lane before you were able to see the first weave?
Immediately. As soon as we got into the median lane on westbound 414, he immediately started swerving within his lane.
I want to clarify one thing. You said when he got into the median lane, the through lane. When he got
the inside through lane, yes.
When he got to so that'd be like the fast lane, correct? Is what you're describing?
Yes.
On the interstate?
Yeah.
Okay. And the final stop location was where?
Westbound State Road 414 and Hope Road.
What road?
Hope Road.
Hope Road. Is that over the interpass?
No, it's just prior to it.
All right. And that's still within the construction zone?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe what happened when you hit your emergency lights the second time to pull him over?
He proceeded to continue. However, it was not at a fast speed. I didn't at any time think that he was running from me or anything like that. So I did hit my siren because when we activate our emergency lights to do a traffic stop, it's just our lights. We don't generally use our sirens. So I hit my sirens again just to make sure that he realized that I was behind him and that I was conducting a traffic stop. And then once we got to the Hope Road, which was approximately another maybe 500 to 700 feet, is when he pulled over into the breakdown area, I guess.
Okay, let's start from the intersection again where he was stopped in the left turn lane. He goes forward, correct?
Yes.
And then goes in the travel lane. We're at the same sheet, right?
Yes.
All right. From that point where he's now in the travel lane for the first time to where you hit your lights, what's the distance there?
I don't know the exact. I'd say, again, maybe 500 to 700 feet.
So because I think you said the total distance was about 1,500 feet, correct? Between where you saw him first and where you ended.
Probably a little bit more than 1,500 feet. I believe because of doing crashes and stuff like that, I believe from the west side of that intersection to Hope Road is about 1,500 feet there. So that's why I said about 1,500 to 1,700 feet, adding the intersection as well.
Okay. And so the three swerves or the swerves or whatever it was, that was in that first 700, and then you hit your lights somewhere in that neighborhood of 700,000 feet, and then he pulls over 700 to 1,000 feet later.
Yes, sir.
Approximately.
Yes, sir.
After you hit your lights, did you see any driving pattern that caused you concern?
No.
So after you hit your lights, you have a appropriate response to the emergency lights. He didn't accelerate, didn't flee away, took a couple seconds to gather his composure. And
Yes, sir.
where he pulled over to the left, correct?
Yes, sir.
Pulled over in a logical place?
Yes, sir.
No traffic was affected by where he stopped?
No, sir.
Didn't stop in the middle of the travel lane?
No, sir.
No inappropriate behaviors in that methodology at all?
No, sir.
Okay. And you approached the driver's side, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall telling him why you pulled him over?
No, not initially. When I approached the vehicle, I requested his license, registration, and proof of insurance.
Have you had a chance to review the video?
Yes, sir. For my body camera?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You don't recall giving him a reason why you pulled him over initially?
No, sir. Well, after, I initially asked for, sorry.
Best evidence?
Her went for years.
Okay. I don't know that she said she didn't remember, but then she started to say something. So I'm going to overrule the objection at this point. If you want to ask another question, go ahead.
Sure. Do you recall having a conversation when you approached the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
At any point in that initial conversation, do you recall telling him why you pulled him over?
Yes, after I requested his license, registration, and insurance.
And what did you tell him?
I then explained to him in regards to why, when he was at the intersection, that he did not proceed when the light cycled to green, and that him almost striking the median.
And at no point in time did you ever mention or ask any questions about sick, ill, or impaired during that initial interaction, correct?
No, sir.
And in your police report, you make no mention of sick, ill, or impaired, correct?
I asked him prior to starting the field sobriety exercises, we have routine questions that we ask him if he has any medical issues.
Certainly.
That would prevent him from conducting the field sobriety exercises. And after he had urinated on himself for the second time, I asked him if he had any kind of medical conditions that would cause him to do that.
And certainly you asked those questions after. I guess initially, when you approached the vehicle and you had a conversation, any mention at all of sick, ill, or impaired to him?
No, sir.
And in fact, have you talked to the prosecutor about this case prior to today?
Yes, sir.
And did you mention any mention of sick, ill, or impaired during those conversations?
Objection. Improper question. I don't know if that's a legal objection. Relevant, Your Honor. Okay, I overruled.
Can you rephrase the question? I apologize.
You've had conversations with the prosecutor regarding this case sometime prior to today or prior to this hearing?
Yes,
correct?
sir.
And at that hearing or at that meeting or telephonic, whatever that was, whatever that communication was, when is the first time that you mentioned sick, ill, or impaired?
Objection, Your Honor. Here, sir. I overruled.
When we were discussing the reason for the stop, as we went through the entire thing, I explained that based on his driving pattern, him not proceeding through the intersection, not paying attention, not reacting to me honking my horn, that I thought that either he was possibly impaired and or having some kind of medical condition.
Do you recall when this conversation was?
With the prosecutor?
Yes.
Yesterday I spoke with him.
I want to go into they would beat the stop to death. I want to move into the interaction with him during the roadside contact. Any odor of alcohol?
Yes, sir.
And did you ask him if he'd been drinking?
Yes, sir.
And that was initially or that was later on?
I do not recall exactly when I asked him, but I believe that I asked him several times in regards to if he drank or had anything to drink tonight. Actually, yes, in the initial interaction while he was still inside the vehicle, I asked him if he had anything to drink tonight, and he stated no.
And with regards to, you indicated that with regards to the urine in the pants, you indicated on direct examination that he had urinated himself originally and then just now you mentioned twice a couple minutes ago, a second time. There's 2 incidents that you're speaking of with urine in the pants?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So his pants were soiled when you walked up to the car the first time?
Correct. However, I did not realize that his pants were soiled until I had him exit the vehicle.
Okay, so on initial approach, you didn't have that as one of your indicators of known factors. You found that out a little later.
Yes, sir.
Did you see any open containers in the car?
No, sir.
1 second, Your Honor.
Sure.
It came out on direct examination that you asked him medical questions about urination in his pants. Let me stand there. Do you recall him telling you that he had to go to the bathroom?
Yes, sir.
He told you multiple times, correct?
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor.